The flight instructors said, "No pilot breaks formation without authorization." 22 years of perfect military discipline. Apache helicopters flying precision maneuvers over the Nevada desert. But as she walked toward the base exit with her discharge papers, one helicopter suddenly descended and blocked her path. What happened next froze every soldier on that parade ground and redefined what honor really means. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If this story resonates with you, consider subscribing for more tales of unrecognized heroes. Her name was Major Diana Blackwood, and she was carrying a cardboard box containing the remnants of a 22-year military career as she walked across the sun-baked parade ground of Fort Carson Army Base in Nevada. The desert heat shimmered off the asphalt as Apache helicopters thundered overhead in perfect formation, their rotor wash kicking up dust devils that danced across the open training ground. The morning air was filled with the familiar sounds of military operations. The distant crack of rifle fire from the range, the rumble of armored vehicles conducting maneuvers, and the rhythmic chop of helicopter rotors that had been the soundtrack to Diana's adult life. But today, these sounds carried a finality that made each step toward the gate more difficult than the last. In the box she carried were personal items that had accumulated over 2 decades of service. Commendation letters, photographs from deployments, a compass given to her by her first flight instructor, and the folded flight suit she would never wear again. Missing from the collection was any formal recognition of her service termination. No ceremony, no honors, just a folder of discharge paperwork and instructions to vacate base housing within 48 hours. Colonel Marcus Sterling stood in the Flight Operations Tower, watching through binoculars as Diana made her way across the parade ground. As the base commander, he had been forced to sign her discharge papers, despite his personal objections to the circumstances that led to her dismissal. The decision had come from higher up the chain of command, leaving him with no choice but to implement orders he fundamentally disagreed with. 6 months earlier, Diana had been flying a routine supply mission when she received emergency coordinates from a civilian vehicle stranded in a sudden sandstorm. The stranded party included the wife and children of Captain James Brennan, one of her fellow pilots, along with diplomatic personnel traveling under official protection. General Harrison Pike had issued direct orders over the radio. "Abort mission. Risk assessment is negative. Return to base immediately." But Diana had recognized the names on the passenger manifest. Brennan's family was in immediate danger from the deteriorating weather conditions, and the nearest rescue assets were hours away. She made a decision that would end her career. "With respect, sir, I cannot comply with that order." Diana had flown into the sandstorm using instruments and experience gained from years of combat deployments. She located the stranded vehicle using thermal imaging, executed a precision landing in near-zero visibility, and extracted all passengers safely. The rescue had been flawless from a tactical standpoint, but it had exposed serious flaws in General Pike's emergency response protocols. Flaws he had been concealing to protect his own reputation. Rather than acknowledge the successful rescue, Pike had initiated disciplinary proceedings against Diana for insubordination. Her career became the price of his continued advancement, and despite testimony from the rescued personnel and support from her fellow pilots, the decision to discharge her had been upheld at every level of appeal. Captain James Brennan stood with his Apache crew near the flight line, watching Diana's solitary walk toward the gate. She had saved his family's lives, and the knowledge that her career was ending because of that heroic act filled him with a mixture of gratitude and rage that he struggled to contain. "This is wrong," Brennan said to his co-pilot, Lieutenant Sarah Martinez. "She saved my wife and kids, and they're throwing her out like she's some kind of criminal." Martinez nodded grimly. "The whole squadron knows what really happened out there. Pike's covering his ass at her expense." Brennan watched the formation of 5 Apache helicopters conducting training exercises over the desert training ground. He was scheduled to join the formation for the next flight cycle, piloting the trail aircraft in a series of tactical maneuvers designed to test coordination and precision flying skills. The formation was led by Colonel Rick Hammond, one of the most experienced Apache pilots in the Army with over 4,000 flight hours and multiple combat deployments. Hammond's reputation for precision and discipline made him the ideal instructor for the advanced maneuvers being practiced that morning. Lead to all flights. Hammond's voice crackled over the radio. Maintain formation spacing. We're approaching the final pass over the parade ground. The 5 Apache helicopters moved in perfect synchronization across the cloudless Nevada sky, their shadows racing across the desert floor. From the ground, the formation appeared flawless, a demonstration of military precision and coordinated power that represented everything the Army stood for in terms of discipline and unity. Diana continued her walk toward the base perimeter, each step taking her further from the life she had known for over 2 decades. The weight of the cardboard box seemed to increase with every yard, not from its physical contents, but from the emotional burden of leaving behind everything she had worked to achieve. Staff Sergeant Kevin Walsh, one of the aircraft mechanics who had worked on Diana's helicopter for 3 years, watched her progress from the maintenance hangar. Walsh had seen firsthand the meticulous care Diana took with her aircraft and the respect she showed for the ground crew who kept her helicopter operational. "That's bullshit," Walsh muttered to his fellow mechanics. "Major Blackwood is one of the best pilots we've got, and they're forcing her out because she saved people." The mechanics had heard the full story through the base grapevine, and their sentiment was shared throughout the enlisted ranks. Diana's reputation for fairness, competence, and concern for her subordinates had earned her loyalty that transcended rank structure. As Diana approached the main gate, she passed the memorial wall where the names of fallen soldiers from the base were engraved in black granite. She paused briefly before the name of Lieutenant Maria Santos, a young pilot she had trained who had been killed in action during a deployment to Afghanistan. Santos had been like a daughter to her, and the knowledge that she would never again have the opportunity to mentor young pilots filled Diana with a profound sense of loss. The formation of Apache helicopters began their final approach over the parade ground, maintaining perfect spacing and altitude as they prepared to complete the training exercise. From his position in the lead aircraft, Colonel Hammond could see Diana walking toward the gate, her solitary figure a stark contrast to the coordinated power of the formation above. Captain Brennan was flying in the trail position of the formation, designated as Apache 5. His aircraft was equipped with the same weapon systems and advanced avionics as the others, but his attention was divided between maintaining formation discipline and watching the woman who had risked everything to save his family. "All flights, this is lead," Hammond transmitted. "Prepare for final pass. Maintain current heading and airspeed." 2 copy, 3 copy, 4 copy, 5 copy, Brennan responded, but his voice carried an undertone that suggested his mind was elsewhere. Diana reached the gate, where 2 military police officers waited to process her departure. The paperwork was routine, but the symbolism was profound. After 22 years of wearing the uniform, she was about to walk through the gate as a civilian, her military identity stripped away by administrative action. "Ma'am, we need you to sign the final departure log," one of the MPs said, extending a tablet toward her. Diana set down her cardboard box and took the electronic stylus. As she prepared to sign the document that would officially end her military career, the sound of helicopter rotors grew louder overhead. The Apache formation was making its final pass, the thunder of 5 aircraft engines echoing off the buildings around the parade ground. She looked up at the helicopters for what she assumed would be the last time, watching the machines she had devoted her life to flying. The formation was indeed perfect, a testament to the skill and discipline of the pilots and the effectiveness of their training. Then, something unprecedented happened. Apache 5 suddenly broke formation. Without radio authorization or explanation, Captain Brennan's helicopter banked sharply to the right, abandoning its position in the coordinated formation. The sudden maneuver was so unexpected that the other pilots initially assumed it was a mechanical emergency. 5, this is lead, Hammond transmitted urgently. "Report your status. Are you experiencing emergency conditions?" Brennan didn't respond immediately. Instead, he guided his Apache in a wide arc that brought him directly over Diana's position at the gate. The helicopter descended rapidly, its rotor wash creating a whirlwind of dust and debris that forced everyone in the area to shield their eyes. "Apache 5, you are breaking protocol." Hammond's voice carried sharp authority. "Return to formation immediately." Brennan brought his helicopter to a hover just 50 feet above the gate area, the thunderous noise of the rotors making conversation impossible. Diana looked up at the aircraft, confused by the unexpected maneuver, but recognizing the aircraft commander through the cockpit glass. Inside the cockpit, Brennan made a decision that would define his own career. He opened his radio channel to base frequency, ensuring that his words would be heard by everyone monitoring flight operations. "Base control, this is Apache 5, Brennan transmitted, his voice calm and clear despite the magnitude of what he was about to do. "I am suspending flight operations to render honors to Major Diana Blackwood, who saved the lives of American citizens when others would not." The radio frequency fell silent. In the flight operations tower, Colonel Sterling grabbed his binoculars and focused on the scene unfolding at the gate. Other personnel throughout the base stopped their activities to watch the unprecedented situation developing. Brennan continued his transmission. "Major Blackwood risked her career to save my family when command authority failed to act. She exemplifies the values we claim to uphold, and her dismissal from service is a disgrace to this uniform." Diana stood frozen below the hovering helicopter, realizing that Brennan was sacrificing his own career to make a statement about her treatment. The gesture was both deeply moving and profoundly troubling, as she understood the consequences he would face for his public insubordination. "Apache 5, you are ordered to return to formation and land immediately," Sterling's voice came over the radio from the tower. "You are in violation of flight regulations and direct orders." "Copy, base control," Brennan replied, "but some things are more important than regulations." The Apache began a slow ceremonial orbit around the gate area, its rotor disc tilted in what military aviators recognized as a salute to a fallen comrade. The maneuver was typically reserved for funeral formations, but Brennan was treating Diana's dismissal as a death, the death of justice and honor within the system they had both served. Other personnel throughout the base had stopped their activities to watch the unprecedented demonstration. Mechanics emerged from hangars, support staff gathered outside administrative buildings, and soldiers training on various ranges paused their exercises to observe what was happening at the gate. "This is incredible," Lieutenant Martinez said from her position in Apache 2. "Brennan's committing career suicide, but he's making his point." Colonel Hammond found himself in an impossible position. As formation leader and senior pilot, he should order Brennan to comply with base control directives. But as a fellow aviator who understood the circumstances of Diana's dismissal, he sympathized with Brennan's gesture. "All flights except 5. This is lead," Hammond transmitted. "Continue standard pattern. Do not break formation." Hammond's decision to exclude Brennan from his formation control orders was subtle but significant. By allowing Apache 5 to operate independently, he was tacitly supporting Brennan's demonstration while maintaining his own plausible deniability. On the ground, Diana gestured toward Brennan's helicopter, trying to signal him to end his demonstration before it destroyed his career. But Brennan continued his ceremonial orbit, his helicopter's thunderous presence drawing attention from across the entire base. Word of the incident spread rapidly through the base communication systems. In barracks, offices, and training areas, personnel tuned their radios to monitor the developing situation. Many had served with Diana during her 22-year career and respected her professionalism and dedication. Staff Sergeant Walsh and his maintenance crew gathered outside their hangar to watch the circling helicopter. "Brennan's got balls," Walsh said admiringly, "but he's about to get court-martialed for this." In the base hospital, medical personnel watched from windows overlooking the parade ground. Diana had volunteered at the hospital during her off-duty hours, visiting wounded soldiers and supporting families dealing with deployment stress. Her departure was being felt throughout the base community. General Pike had been monitoring flight operations from his office and was furious about the unauthorized demonstration. He activated his radio and transmitted directly to Brennan. "Apache 5, this is General Pike. You will cease this unauthorized display immediately and report for disciplinary action." Brennan's response was immediate and uncompromising. "General, with respect, Major Blackwood saved American lives while following the highest traditions of military service. Her dismissal is unjust, and this demonstration will continue until she receives the recognition she deserves. The confrontation between a captain and a general over open radio frequency was unprecedented in base history. Pike's authority was being directly challenged in front of the entire installation, creating a crisis that would require immediate resolution. Apache 5, you have 30 seconds to comply with direct orders or face court-martial proceedings, Pike transmitted, his voice tight with anger. Diana realized she had to end the situation before Brennan destroyed his career for her sake. She activated a handheld radio borrowed from one of the MPs and transmitted on the base frequency. Captain Brennan, this is Major Blackwood. I order you to return to base and comply with all directives. My situation does not justify compromising your career. Brennan's helicopter continued its orbit as he considered her words. After a long pause, he transmitted, Major, you saved my family. You upheld honor when others abandoned it. This demonstration is my choice, and I accept the consequences. The situation had reached a critical point where resolution required decisive action from base leadership. Colonel Sterling made a command decision that surprised everyone monitoring the frequency. All personnel, this is base control. Apache 5's demonstration is acknowledged as a legitimate expression of military values. Operations will continue as normal. Sterling's statement effectively legitimized Brennan's action, transforming it from insubordination into an officially recognized ceremony. The colonel was risking his own career by supporting Brennan, but he believed the gesture was justified by the circumstances of Diana's dismissal. General Pike immediately contacted Sterling. Colonel, you are exceeding your authority. Order that aircraft to land immediately. Sir, Sterling replied calmly, I am exercising command discretion in support of military morale and unit cohesion. The demonstration is concluding peacefully and poses no safety hazard. Diana watched the exchange unfold with growing amazement. What had begun as her solitary departure was transforming into a base-wide demonstration of support that involved multiple officers risking their careers on her behalf. Brennan began his final approach to the gate area, bringing his Apache to a precise hover directly above Diana's position. The helicopter's side window opened, and Brennan appeared in full flight gear, offering a formal military salute that was clearly visible to everyone watching. The gesture lasted exactly 30 seconds, the traditional duration for rendering honors to a departing service member. When Brennan completed his salute, he transmitted one final message. Major Blackwood, it has been an honor to serve with you. The Army is losing one of its finest officers. Apache. The 5 then climbed away from the gate and rejoined the formation, resuming its position as if nothing unusual had occurred. The other helicopters fell into perfect formation behind Brennan's aircraft, creating a unified demonstration of support that spoke louder than any words. Diana stood at the gate with tears in her eyes, overwhelmed by the unprecedented gesture of support. The MPs who had been processing her departure paperwork stood at attention, recognizing that they had witnessed something extraordinary. Colonel Hammond's voice came over the radio with professional composure. Base control, this is formation lead. Training exercise complete. All aircraft returning to base. The formation of Apache helicopters flew towards the airfield in perfect order. But everyone understood that something fundamental had changed during that exercise. Military protocol had been bent, but military values had been upheld in a way that would be remembered long after the administrative details were forgotten. As the sound of helicopters faded across the desert, Diana completed her departure paperwork with a sense of closure that had been missing moments earlier. Brennan's demonstration had provided the recognition and respect that official channels had denied her. Ma'am, one of the MPs said quietly, that was something special. We've never seen anything like it. Diana nodded, still processing the magnitude of what had occurred. Captain Brennan is a good man. I hope this doesn't cost him his career. From what I hear, ma'am, there are a lot of people on this base who support what just happened. Command might have a hard time disciplining someone for honoring a hero. 2 hours later, the Apache formation landed at the flight line where ground crews waited to secure the aircraft. Brennan shut down his engines and completed his post-flight inspections with the same attention to detail he had always shown. Colonel Hammond approached Brennan as he climbed out of his aircraft. "Captain, that was either the stupidest or the bravest thing I've ever seen a pilot do." "Sir, it was the right thing to do," Brennan replied simply. Hammond studied the younger officer for a moment before extending his hand. "Sometimes, Captain, those are the same thing." The investigation into Brennan's unauthorized demonstration lasted 3 weeks and involved interviews with dozens of base personnel. The overwhelming consensus was that Brennan had acted in accordance with military values, even if his methods had violated specific regulations. General Pike pushed for court-martial proceedings, but his superiors at Pentagon level declined to pursue charges. The circumstances of Diana's dismissal had generated negative attention at higher levels of command, and Pike's role in the controversy had damaged his own reputation. Captain Brennan received a formal reprimand that was later removed from his record. His demonstration was officially classified as unauthorized but understandable given the circumstances, a finding that essentially validated his actions while maintaining the appearance of regulatory compliance. Diana established a civilian career as a flight instructor and emergency response consultant, applying her military experience to train pilots for dangerous civilian missions. Her expertise in crisis management and precision flying made her one of the most sought-after instructors in the industry. 6 months after leaving the Army, Diana received a call from Colonel Sterling, who had been promoted to general following Pike's early retirement. "Diana, I have a proposition for you. We're establishing a new training program for emergency response pilots, and we need someone with your experience to develop the curriculum." The offer represented an opportunity to return to military aviation in a civilian capacity, allowing Diana to contribute her expertise without the political complications that had ended her active duty career. She accepted the position and began working with the same base where her career had ended. Captain Brennan completed his tour at Fort Carson and was selected for promotion to major. His demonstration on behalf of Diana had enhanced rather than damaged his reputation, marking him as an officer willing to stand up for his convictions under pressure. The Apache formation continued its training exercises over the Nevada desert, but the story of the day when one pilot broke formation for honor became part of base legend. New pilots learned about the incident during their orientation, understanding that military discipline sometimes required difficult choices between regulations and values. From the sun-baked parade ground where Diana had walked toward an uncertain future to the flight training facilities where she now shaped the next generation of pilots, her story became a reminder that true honor transcends administrative decisions. The helicopter that had broken formation to salute her departure had broken something else as well: the silence that often surrounds injustice. Because sometimes the most important missions are the ones that no one orders you to fly. Sometimes breaking formation is the only way to maintain formation with your values. And sometimes the courage to hover when everyone expects you to fly away is exactly what honor looks like.